I don't know when the first time was that I thought that there might be something to this. And that the Bible that we preach from, we read from, we teach from, we learn from, we got our life from, and it warns us about false prophets, and that the Bible was the false prophet. I don't know when the first time I thought about that. As like a legit possibility. And when you combine that with the last 35 years of working on this project to understand the world, and to have it so rapidly in the last 5 years, it becomes something I was afraid of. I've mentioned this before. Something I was afraid of because I knew that I was understanding the world in such a way that this was not going to be good for me. Not for me personally in my journey, but my safety was at risk. I knew this. I don't even share many things that are really, really important. But now I'm at a point where I can't deny. I can't deny. And then this video came up today. So let's watch this together, shall we? Because I'm really uncomfortable.
If you was the devil and you wanted to fracture a man's mind from the day he was born until the day he died, particularly a man, because I'm going to ask a woman next, what would you do?
If I were the devil and I wanted to fracture a man from the day he was born until the day he died, here's exactly how I'd do it. I'd make sure he's born into a system that fears his power before he even knows he has it. And from the moment he takes his first breath, I'd begin the quiet war. Not with violence, with shame. Not with chains, with conditioning. I'd program his parents before he arrives. Make sure his father is numb, unavailable, or absent. Make sure his mother is overwhelmed, unsupported, and carrying wounds from her own father. Now he enters a home where love is unstable, safety is conditional, and emotions are never fully seen. That's his blueprint. Then I'd weaponize school. I'd sit him in a chair for 6 hours a day and punish him for needing to move, explore, or question. I'd make sure his wildness is labeled disorder. I'd drug his spirit before it grows teeth. And I'd make sure no one ever tells him you're not broken, you're just awake. I'd confuse his masculinity early. Tell him real men are aggressive, competitive, emotionally shut off. Tell him kindness is weakness. Tell him silence is strength. Then I'd mock him when he becomes emotionally unavailable and call him toxic when he cracks. Now he's confused, ashamed, and disconnected from his core. I'd fracture his sexuality before he even knows what it is. Introduce porn before connection, pleasure before intimacy, control before vulnerability. Now he learns to chase validation through conquest, not love. He'll have sex without ever being touched. I'd tell him his worth is tied to performance. Grades, muscles, money, status, every achievement praised, every emotion ignored. Now he's addicted to results, terrified of failure, and ashamed of softness. But no one sees it because he looks successful. I'd isolate him. Make sure he's surrounded by people but never truly known. Teach him to joke through pain, distract through humor, and lie with confidence. He'll be the strongest in the room and still feel like a fraud. I'd keep him in silent competition with every other man. Convince him that brotherhood is weakness, that vulnerability will get him betrayed, that trusting another man will make him prey. Now he stands alone, strong, admired, and completely disconnected. I'd wound his heart and make him hide it. Let his first love break him wide open. Then tell him to man up. Never speak of it again. Now, Every woman he loves after that is filtered through a wound he was never allowed to name. I'd keep him chasing something he could never reach. The perfect body, the perfect career, the perfect partner, the perfect moment where he finally feels enough. But it never arrives, because the void wasn't created by lack of achievement. It was created by lack of remembrance. And I'd make sure he dies respected, admired, and unknown. The good man, the provider, the one who never asked for help. He'll leave behind a legacy of strength, but take his truth to the grave. That's how I'd fracture a man. Not with trauma, with slow erosion, with silence, with lies dressed as love, until he forgets what it ever felt like to be whole.
Wow.
Okay, so let me just clarify. These aren't all hitting for me. But when I think about the character of a man in the United States, I know that you guys are feeling this. I know it's describing you. Now let's do the women. Fucking A. This fucking hits. And the comment sections on this video are basically unanimously saying that's the fucking United States.
Ow. Now, what about a woman?
Fuck.
If I were the devil and I wanted to fracture a woman from the moment she was born until the moment she died, this is exactly how I'd do it. First, I'd make her doubt her own body. From the very beginning. I'd tell her she's too much or not enough, too loud, too quiet, too big, too small. I'd disconnect her from the rhythm of her womb before she ever bleeds. Make her ashamed of her cycle. Teach her that pain is normal, that intuition is drama, that sensitivity is weakness. I'd divide her from her mother, not always through conflict, sometimes through silence. I'd make sure her mother carries unspoken trauma, passed through tone and tension, not words. So the daughter grows up decoding emotions instead of expressing them. Now she learns love means scanning, fixing, pleasing. I'd glamorize beauty and weaponize comparison. Flood her with images of perfection she'll never reach, because I'll keep changing the standard. I'd make her chase external validation while starving her internal knowing. Now she's too busy hating her reflection to notice she was born as art. I'd fracture her friendships early, whisper insecurity into the space between girls. Make them compete for attention, affection, approval. Make trust feel dangerous and betrayal feel inevitable. Now, she grows into a woman who smiles at other women while bracing for impact. I'd confuse her sexuality before she understands consent. Let her experience attention before safety. Let her feel desired before she feels seen. Make her believe her worth lies in her desirability, but shame her for expressing it. Now she's trapped in a loop. Repress it, express it, regret it, repeat. I'd make her serve to feel loved, make her a helper, healer, mothered everyone but herself. Teach her that saying no is selfish, that rest is lazy, that boundaries are rejection. So she gives until she burns out and no one notices. I'd sell her freedom wrapped in mimic feminism. Tell her power means becoming like a man. Hustle, harden, achieve. Suppress the very thing that makes her magic. Her softness, her flow, her intuition, her cyclical wisdom. Convince her to cut off her roots in the name of rising. I'd let her taste love, then take it away. Over and over. So she starts to believe the problem is her. Now she shapeshifts, self-abandons, pleases, performs, just to be chosen. But even when she's chosen, she won't feel safe, because she never got to be known. I'd silence her rage, tell her to be nice, be agreeable, be quiet, so that by the time she realizes what's been done to her, she can't even scream. I'd fill her womb with emotion she was never allowed to express. Generations of grief, guilt, shame. She'll feel the weight, but not the source. She'll think she's broken, when in truth, she's carrying an entire bloodline's unspoken pain. And when she finally starts to wake up, when she begins to remember her power, I'd surround her with spiritual fluff. Soft words, safe rituals, surface healing. Let her feel like she's evolving without ever reclaiming her fire. Because if she truly remembered, if she bled without shame, loved without losing herself, and roared without apology, she'd tear the entire system down just by existing. And that's what I'd fear the most. Not her beauty, not her body, her remembrance.
Whoa.
It's not just the video. It's the sheer number of pieces that I understand. It's the hundreds of people, it's the thousands of people that I've interacted with in conversations and fucking all of it. The lies go back for so long. And the farthest I can go back is 7,000 years. And I had another video today that a lady was talking about how fear is not of God. And I told her it's not only fear that's not of God, but neither is competition. You're not born instinctively to be afraid, and you're not born instinctively to be competitive. And I know what true religious deconstruction looks like. I know. I know what it feels like to be all in. And I know what war is happening inside of someone who knows there's something, but has been so trained not to allow themselves to think of it systematically. The Bible is not what you think it is. And I know that it's hard to begin that process to accept that that might be true. Fuck, I know. I fucking know. Every Christian has a shoebox in the back of their closet where they put shit. And they keep putting shit. And they keep putting shit. And when you decide that, you know what? I might just pull that out and start looking. And accept the fact that it's important that you do that. When I thought, you know what? Maybe now. It was 2 more years before I could lift that lid. Fuck. And it was fucking bad. And it just went from bad to worse. Fuck, you don't understand what I've been fucking trying to understand about our world for fucking 35 years. I don't. The concept of what I'm doing now from the outside, it seems odd. I don't fucking share most of the stuff. I try to share some stuff. This thing with Venezuela, I don't even know where this video just quit. I got a battery warning here. This thing with Venezuela. If you're on the Chinese app and you start getting into a routine of being over there and just spending time, this and that, and you really start to understand, you understand the Chinese people. You start to get the vibe of the culture. There's other people around the world too, because you can see their location, what country of origin they're from. Everybody has a country of origin right under their name, so you know where everybody's from. The world talking about the United States. They see right through it, and they have been. It always kind of starts out something like, "Oh, the United States is coming to liberate them from their oppression. Oh, and look, we found oil while we were there." Things like that. America is and has been a bit of a joke. When you finally reach the point of seeing the world for what it is, seeing the United States for what it is, you won't be able to watch the news. I struggle. So I don't have cable, and so I tend to, go to YouTube and watch curated. I decide what I'm going to watch. So I'm not sitting there in front of the news just watching an hour show. I can't do that. And then, was it CBS fired all of the brown skin people? All of the brown skin people. And then they started replacing them with Jews and hats in Israel. The propaganda, I could see what was happening. And I couldn't watch it. When you see the truth, you can't live with the lie. So I made a comment. I started to say a bit ago. I made a comment about there are many strands together that form a rope. And this rope is what ties you to family and friends and your country. My last thread that forms that rope is about to snap. And yeah, I'm still going to send this letter out to Trump. I don't expect it to be, I don't even know if I'm going to get a response. And getting a response, the positive dream of it, getting the ideal response from the President of the United States. Well, one, that would be just a complete shock, honestly. It would be. But if I got the full funding, if you will, dove right in, I could repair what's broken. But that's not going to happen. I mean, I'm realistic. I'm going to send the letter to Donald Trump because I owe it to this land, to the people who lost their lives because they were the natural inhabitants. But I don't know if there's any way for me to go forward in building new strands to form a rope connecting me to this country. I don't know how that's going to happen. Because I've been on this journey for 35 years. I can put myself into my work. And I'm really close to fucking getting my isolation and just locking in. I mean, I feel like that's coming real close. And I'm gonna so disconnect. Like, I'm already those who are around me know I'm pretty disconnected. Like, I am not letting anybody in. I'm uncomfortable even forming a bond with an animal right now. I watched a video of some AI thing about an adoption agency for animals, and the animal gets to pick you. And I instantly got sad at the thought of a dog picking me. I don't want anybody to pick me. I don't want to be picked for anything, on any level, in any form. I don't understand all of the pieces of why I'm to this point. I mean, I have some kind of ideas. There's a lot of things that go into it. But realizing where I'm at in this country of the United States and what it actually is, I don't know how to be part of it. I don't know how to even want to be a part of it. And unless I'm one of the people that's helping the planning of making it the place that it should have been the whole time. Which is back to me being fully accepted, funding, and we hire those 50 people. And I'm doing the work. Now, I could hold out for the next president, but I don't think that's going to be what we think it is anymore. There aren't going to ever be a true election again. Those days are over. And I've said before, I understand what all these data centers are here for, and when quantum computers become a main thing, you'll understand why. And any chance of a resistance being built out of that is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You understand me? It's not going to happen. Capitalism and Christianity were created in this 7,000 year timeline. They pop up about the same time. Our modern day Christianity, our modern day capitalism, it's by design. This is not an Eastern Chinese culture problem. This does not exist there with them. And I know this because I've spent so much time on the Red Note app to start to feel the culture, to make comments and see the overwhelming response to it from them all, to know how different. And many examples like that. What I don't know and can easily see happening is the same response in other places around the world. Absent of where the United States has ties. I'm gonna finish this because It's already too long and probably nobody cares, and that's fine. I'm not interested in what people care about or not anymore. That's your journey. If you're weak enough to just be told what to do, which is most of you, you're not going to care. You're not going to care. And you're not going to care, especially when you don't truly understand the rest of the world. You can't go on vacation and say, oh, I was in China, or I was there, and then come back and say, oh, you know. You don't know shit. Some guy in my local community in Laverne, Minnesota is talking about how the other communities around here are ghetto. Around here are ghetto. And I get in a conversation, and he's talking about how he's been around to the other world's countries, and I don't even want to get in the conversation. But some people just don't understand anything. All they know how to do is point to fingers and say, oh, I don't like that. That's not up to my standards, so that's bad. And that there's a lot of indoctrination going on. A lot of things, my friends. Not that I have any friends, but a lot of things are going on. And I've said this before, I can't take anything at face value anymore. There is nothing worthy of taking at face value anymore. Not living in the United States. Because nothing is face value. I know that I am so many more steps ahead of all of you. And I know that in this mix, there's a small percentage of you that have heard little pieces here and little pieces there. And you can't grasp the picture. If our country, the United States, becomes a fascist dictator, if I haven't started building a road to connect, if I haven't started building strands to build a rope to connect myself to another country, I will not survive here. I will be done. I'm not weak enough to be okay with that. And I'm already going to be targeted. There's no chance of me surviving in a fascist Israeli-owned country. It's not going to happen. I'm going to be fucking excommunicated right out there. I'm going to be killed right out there in the street in front of my house if they don't blow up our homes first. And then they'll probably give them to some Israeli like they've done in Ukraine that you don't know about.
And there's a bunch of vacant homes and open land. The Jews, of course, have come pouring into Ukraine, with thousands of them flying in from Israel to begin staking claims. Now they've even started up their own police forces. They're setting up checkpoints along the road leading into their new territories, these little Khazarian Israeli outposts. And if you're not a Jew, if you're not part of their tribe, they won't let you pass.
For some reason, all these cars are stopped, and there's soldiers, cops. They asked me if I was a Christian. I have no idea what's happening.
Hasidic, maybe you're right. Please, passport.
Passport, okay. Only Jews are allowed in this area. Okay.
Watch very carefully. Because those Jews in Ukraine, they're wearing some interesting uniforms. They look like sheriff's deputies from some town in North Dakota or Mississippi or New York. Some old classic American town. And obviously the reason for that, the reason why they do that is because America is giving them all of this.
This ambition of the So I do want to write these books. And that's part of the diving in on this. But I don't know what's going to protect me long enough to make it to the end. I'm being real honest here with you. I don't see how I'm going to remain safe enough to finish these. I don't. I have literally spent my entire life around this plan. Have to say that I've changed my life for it to make I don't know what even I don't even know if it's going to be worth it in the long run at this point, because I don't know how I'm going to survive this. I don't. And I don't. And most of you aren't going to give a shit. None of you are going to give a shit. Nobody's going to give a shit. They're going to blame me or whatever the fuck. Don't blame me because I'm not stupid. I never knew this was going to happen. This was just going to be one book. It's just going to be a book. Just one book. And it all started out when I was a homeless kid on the street. And everyone's saying, you see the world so differently than the rest of us. At the core of that understanding is because I learned I wasn't taught competition. And how that is such a building block of all of the things that make America bad. Now, you don't see that. You won't understand that. But I now know why I was so different than everybody else. I don't know what to say. There was another video that I got yesterday, I think it was. There's a guy going that religion is at the base of every single problem in the United States.
Yeah, I know. Christianity's been used to do some... What do you mean has been? Damn near at the base of every problem we have currently, right now, in our lives. What do you mean used to be? It's still used for terrible shit. What are you talking about?
And he's right. I didn't realize that until I don't know how many years ago it was now. 4, 6, I don't know. I don't remember. It's all kind of just running together at some points at this point. And that was when I was thinking about all the things in my family's history, the things that really wrecked them, the things that were difficult, and literally all of them had to do with religion and what it did to our culture. I'm going to say one more thing. When I began this process 35 years ago, it was pretty early on. And I didn't know it, but I was literally talking epigenetics. Now, epigenetics is a study of how the environment that's around you affects your RNA levers that flip on your DNA and give you your characteristic traits. Not just your looks, but your actions. Your sexual habits can actually be tied to your genetics. That's how it has a stronghold on you. So I very early on in this 35 years, and it was the only one that I had really, not really, but it's the only one that I would really repeat. There's some things with Nigeria too that it's similar, but the Jews were always the easiest one to give the example. And that was that the Jews that survived the Holocaust, genetically, they turned off their ability to deal with stress. That was a consequence of living in the concentration camp. There was nothing that they could do to deal with stress, and their body just turned it off. Use it or lose it, I guess. And so descendants of those Jews would have lived a life without understanding what they were doing in the avoidance of stressful situations. And they would have sought, I don't want to say safety, but they were very protective and would have done things that when we stereotyped a Jew before everything that happened in Palestine, tight with their money, doctors, lawyers, kind of secure jobs, some isolation things. These stereotypes of the Jews is a direct consequence of what happened to them in the Holocaust, that survived and had children. And when these effects happen on the body, now I know this is going to sound kind of weird and you can do whatever, but if you do your research and you find the study of epigenetics, you're obviously going to know that genetic study has not been around for hundreds of years. This is relatively new. They did, however, do it with earthworms. And they could show that about 12 generations later, those earthworms were still showing signs of what was done to their ancestors. So now that's just one of many studies, and a lot has happened since that study of earthworms. Like that's way back into the epigenetic study field. That's way, way back there. I don't even know if you're going to find that if you were to look for it and look in there to it now. I mean, that's how far back it is. And you could carry it for 12 generations. You are not the sum of all your genetics. They just sort of fade out. They're not there anymore. You're not genetics of your people 2,000 years ago. That doesn't exist within you anymore. You're not part of that. You might think you are. It looks cool on paper, but you're not. There's no genetic influence from the times of Jesus, if you will. There's none. Having said that, there's a way to reverse the negativity that is happening to humans. And that's where I want to kind of finish this up. I'm just really going out there a long ways. And of course, I'm slow paced, and I know you all hate it. I don't really care. This study of epigenetics and what it does to you. The plague, a world war, like 1 or 2, even a difficult, violent marriage that a woman has with a man who beats her and just really wrecks her, changes her genetics. And if she's in this state when she's pregnant with a girl, the eggs that she creates in that baby from the stress that she's enduring in her life is affecting those eggs genetically. So when that daughter is born and she has children of her own, those eggs are directly tied to what happened to her mother. When a man goes through these things, if he were to have a kid when he's 20 versus when he's 50, especially if he's gone through some incredibly stressful situations, his genetics and the contribution to that child are different. Very different. So it's important to live a good life, or you're going to pass down that problems to your kids. Now, the pandemic, COVID-19, what Trump is doing is literally affecting our genetics. Now, I've been on this project for 35 years that's become something completely different, and I've created a social media site that will literally change the world, leaving not one life untouched, with my full chest. Work built in there that you can't even understand. You can't understand. But when I said to you about how genetics, you're the sum of last 12, maybe 20. There's nothing happening in our world right now to make the reverse of what's happening. And Christianity is literally making us less empathetic. It's making us worse human beings. And the conversation is this. The Bible is a lie. It's a bastardization of Jesus Christ's teaching. It goes against God's natural order. And it's done this so well, it is affecting us genetically, still today. Now let's go back in history. And I've always said, well, the Jews that suffered from the Holocaust have been scarred genetically because of that. And then the realization somewhere in these recent timelines of Christians and what they endured. They used to burn preachers alive at the stake for preaching in anything but Latin. They used to torture and beat and maim and kill people who refused to convert. The Middle Ages, the Dark Ages of Europe, converting people to Christianity was a blood field. And a damage onto epigenetics to those people that now I understand why some Christians are so bad. But do it so soft-spoken to your fucking face. There's a whole host of conversations that can be had that I've not even had with myself on that. I just know that is a conversation filled with things to help identify why Christians act like they do. And it does not matter if you're a Christian now. It does not matter if your parents and your great-grandparents were atheists. It doesn't matter. They've all been genetically fucked over because of what happened in Europe at the beginning of Christianity there. The times of King James, the times before King James. I didn't know. I've always been data-led on this. Every aspect of what I've been doing is data-led. What's good for the people? What am I understanding? I don't go out and search stuff for the most part. I consume so much shit of all different levels. I just want shit to come to me organically. I don't go look for shit. And I've been doing this data-led since day one, 35 years ago when I was a homeless kid. Just let the information come to me. Because by searching it out, then I'm driving the train. I'm driving the bus. I'm driving the machine. I never wanted to be the driver. I just wanted to be the logbook that said, where did it go? So when I spent 16,000 hours designing a social media site to change the world, I wasn't thinking about how this might affect people genetically because I didn't have to, but when you've created what I've created and then you've sat with it now for years while still learning this shit, I realize so much more strongly that what I've created is It's such a blessing. And powerful enough to make the future of humans so much better. So much better. Genetically. Advanced humans. There isn't anything else like this in the world. And there's only a handful, three come to mind, but I'm going to give it 5, where I have been so in the spirit of this, I felt like my feet didn't touch the ground. I know that what I have created is something influenced by things beyond what I can understand. Because when I realize, and again, I've been living with what I've created for a few years now, and watched how it can apply and what it can do, and all these things, and still plugging away pieces. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces you can't even wrap your little head around. The width, depth, height, and distance just keeps getting bigger, and the density just more dense. There is 0 problems in it. 0 problems for humans. It is 100% positive, void of competition and fear anywhere. No leverage has ever been made to try to make someone better or less than another in 10,000 cultural zones around the world. So, I'm going to send this letter out to Donald Trump, but I'm already just skipping over the fact that that's probably just not going to happen. It's just not. And each of these places and people and organizations around the world each have a slightly tailored, different approach to what I'm doing for them to see. To hook them into the conversation enough to say, I just want to talk to that guy and just see. There's something in there that I'm interested in, and I want to know more. And that's all it's going to take. Because I know what I've created. It's not a tool that people can weaponize. It's not. It's not something that can ever become second on the list. No one will ever create a competition to it, because there isn't going to be any way to do that. I have to hold it together. But they're coming for us. They're coming for us. They're coming for people like me. And then that's it. And then that's it. I'm not Nelson Mandela. I can't sit in a prison for 15 years and wait for my freedom. I won't last a month. I won't last a month. And I'll be dead. If they take me. And that's if I even make it alive into their custody. Because I'm instantly going to come out ready to go down. Instantly. Because I know that I won't tolerate even one more second of them playing their bullshit game with me. Not even one fucking second.